Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the East Riding of Yorkshire series. Together with the unparished city of Hull, it forms the county of the same name. There's 172 parishes here. Which one are we in today? Welcome back to the East Riding of Yorkshire, everybody. Now, I've got a follower out there who's been waiting for me to cover this particular East Riding village for quite a long time. Well, mate, I'm finally here. Welcome to Reston. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. This one's been a while coming, but it's a good one. Welcome everyone to the parish of Reston, which contains two villages, the smaller Arnold, which lies to the west of the A165 between Hull and Leven, and Long Riston, which lies to the east. The parish is situated approximately 6 miles north of Hull city centre, and the A165, or Whitecross Road as it's known locally, forms a village bypass. Long Riston is a peaceful and pleasant place, and it's become over the years a favoured place for commuters to live. That's because of its excellent transport links. The A165 is ideal for getting to Hull easily, and Beverley, Bridlington and Hornsea are all within easy reach as well. The name Reston has sometimes been recorded as Ruston or Reston, and like neighbouring Rise, it's a reference to brushwood. Whilst Rise literally means brushwood, Reston means the farmstead near the brushwood. Isn't it amazing how these things sort of make sense when you look into them? It's called Long Riston simply because it's a linear, straggling village lining both sides of one long main street. The full name also distinguished it in the early 17th century from Ruston Parva. Long Riston has an interesting collection of landmarks, including a patch of very well pronounced earthworks close to the Church of St Margaret. I was taken aback by them when I researched them. Come with me and find out what they were. Our main walk today is around Long Riston, and we'll be driving to Arnold, the second of the two settlements in this one, at the very end. Most of the oldest houses in Long Riston are strung out for approximately 1 mile along Main Street, which used to be the main village thoroughfare until the A165 bypass was constructed. We're at the northern end of the village here, close to the junction with Dancing Lane and the road north towards Catwick. If we turn right from here, we find ourselves on the Hawthorns. Long Riston's proximity to the A165 makes it quite an attractive settlement for commuters. This fact is backed up by the many new builds that have sprung up here in recent times. This estate features a small play area, but there is a bigger one located on the sports field, which we'll get to. New builds here have doubled the size of the village from what it was in the early 1970s, but it still has most of its rural charm. So Reston is a mixture of old and new. We've seen some old already, we've seen some new already, and we've come through that new housing estate back onto the old part. So now we're going to take a left turn and head into what is effectively the village centre. I can't believe how quiet it is out here. I can virtually hear nothing apart from birds' song. It's amazing. Let's head down Main Street next. Here's a bus stop, and Long Riston is served by 2 buses, the 24 from Hull to Bridlington and the 242 from Beverley to Hedon. Moving down the street, we pass this house, which was the post office. Long Riston no longer has a shop, the nearest ones are in Leven or in Skirlaw. It wasn't long after that I found a parish notice board. Mark off Reston, folks, this one's in the books. Next up, we have the school. In 1872, the land that this stands on was given to the village for the establishment of a school. It was completed a year later, and until the late 1950s it was known as Long Riston School. It's now just known as Reston C of E. Around the back of the school we find ourselves in the village's sports area, which has that larger playground. Long Riston AFC, the village's football club, play here. There's also a tennis club here too, which has some mighty fine looking hard courts. Okay, so that's brought us to a petrol station, which you can see behind me. Now this is on a main road. That's here, look. And when this was built, it bypassed Reston, Long Riston, and it cut Arnold Lane into 2 pieces, which is why there's an Arnold Lane East and an Arnold Lane West. Now we need to get to the other side of this road, but I'm not about to cross the road. I've no need, I can walk under a subway. To get between Long Riston and Arnold, I could just cross the road. However, I opted for this very colourful subway. Some would call this graffiti, but really this is art. I was a little surprised that there's nothing about this anywhere on the internet. I can only surmise, therefore, that this subway was decorated by local children. Of course, the road that this runs under, the A165, is the Long Riston bypass. Running to the west of the village, this was opened in 1986. Its official name is Whitecross Road, and it joins the A1035 at Whitecross Roundabout, the junction which we spoke about at the beginning of the Leven episode. Once through the subway, you're in Arnold, which used to be linked to Long Riston by road directly until the A165 was built. Arnold is a lot smaller than Long Riston and doesn't have very many features. We'll be back here later to finish this episode off. So we'll be finishing this episode in Arnold later, but for now I've got to walk back up this main road back to the car. It's like Tickton all over again because I cannot see any footpaths. Fingers crossed this is going to be okay. Off to the left as we head back up the A165 is a campsite called Westfield Farm. It's not greatly clear in this shot, but trust me, it's down there somewhere. Dead opposite this there's a house which has all manner of things to sell, including duck eggs, but it looks like they were all fresh out on this occasion. The lack of a footpath here wasn't really an issue. The grass verge was wide enough and flat enough to walk on. Check out that view, by the way. We then reached Dancing Lane. I have no idea how this gets its name, but I'd like to think it's to do with flowers dancing on the East Yorkshire breeze. Old romantic me. There's a well-hidden footpath off this road which runs to the church. This crosses what looks like a field, but it's much more than that. This field is full of sheep, but it's also full of earthworks that show signs of medieval ridge and furrow farming. These are some of the best earthworks I've ever seen. So this field is apparently full of earthworks. Now these aren't on any kind of records according to Historic England, so I wonder if these have never ever been explored, but you can tell that these are earthworks. They're very pronounced. There's some over there which are extremely pronounced. There's a big dip where those trees are. It's quite amazing. So what this was, I have no idea, but an educated guess tells me it's maybe a former medieval village because, as you can see, behind these trees, there's the church. So I'm going to make my way through these sheep to the churchyard. The Church of St Margaret stands back from the road in fields at the northern end of the village. This is built largely of boulders, but has been patched with brick. Its thick walls and the proportions of its nave suggest it originated in the 12th century, although both surviving doorways here are 14th century, and so too is the tower. St Margaret's used to have an aisle, but there's now no evidence of its existence. Reports from 1663 stated that it was in ruins. There are 3 bells in its tower, the oldest of which dates from at least 1552. The whole church was restored thoroughly in 1855, and the churchyard was enlarged in 1891. From the lane leading to the church, you can see the earthworks again. Further research told me this area is known as Butt Hills, a name which links the village to medieval archery. In fact, archery and the village of Long Riston go hand in hand. To explain why, here's today's special section about a very unique village event. The Long Riston Archery Festival has been held in the archery butts next to St Margaret's Church annually since 2012. It is, without a doubt, Long Riston's marquee event. Now, I know absolutely nothing about archery myself, although I did try it once in Sherwood Forest, but that's a whole other story. The one-day event here offers shooting activities for all age ranges and abilities, with a practice area and expert archers on hand to lend advice and help. The festival is much more than just shooting arrows at a board though. There's things like face painting, refreshments, and great food served throughout the day. Picnickers are also welcomed in the viewing area only on a first-come, first-served basis. The festival is usually held in June, although it took a break for a couple of years thanks to COVID-19. The event has its own Facebook page and a website too, both of which are linked below. It sounds like it's a really fun day out for the whole village. What is it with me and vans? Every single time I set the camera up, another one. You might remember this happened in North East Lincolnshire in one episode. Come on, out of the way, there we go. Right, okay. So this is the road which the lane from the church leads to, and if you were to go up there you would have just houses on either side of the road for about half a mile, and then Long Riston comes to an end. We're not walking up there. What we are doing is we are turning around and going this way, heading back to the car which is parked literally just up there, and heading towards Arnold to finish this one off. Just before we do, I need to mention this. You remember the micro pig in Ticton? Well, there's one here as well, here in Long Riston. I'm just going to cross the road. I completely forgot about this because I planned to park outside here so I didn't forget it, and then I nearly forgot it. So this used to be a pub called the Traveller's Rest, and we're going to end this video at another pub in Arnold called the Bay Horse. The township of Arnold, south of the village, was divided between the ancient parishes of Long Riston, Rise and Swine. Like Riston, its name is also of an Old English nature and possibly means Arna's nook of land. There's also an alternative theory that says it could possibly mean Eagle's nook of land. Whatever the case, Arnold is a hamlet that's dominated by farming. The simple fact that I'm following a tractor here is proof positive that I'm in an agricultural settlement. The most impressive building in Arnold is the Manor House. That's the large house you're about to see here off Black Lane. It's almost criminal that it's not a listed building. In fact, Arnold has no listed buildings at all. It does have a pub though, and that's our finishing point. The Bay Horse dates from the 1800s and holds themed party nights, which are a common attraction out here, according to What Pub at least. are, we're at the Bay Horse. We have finished the parish of Reston. I think I've earned a pint, but unfortunately this pub doesn't appear to be open at the moment, which is a little bit annoying, but never mind. I can always go home and enjoy a beer in peace, can't I? I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot. This has been the parish of Reston, and I'm out.